Hi.
Hey, I saw you as soon as you logged on, you started laughing, so I pressed record because I wanted to record you laughing.
Dude, if you only knew what I I just had to get through in order to be here at this time. Holy Mother of God.
You chose the time, man.
Yeah, didn't choose what was happening beforehand.
No,
How's your
no.
week been?
Good, good. It got cold again. We got a little melting. It got a little warm. We got a little melting up here, and then it just got cold again. And it's sorry, bear with us with the background noise during the first part of this episode. Alison had some minor construction going on. I don't know. It's a lot going on. I've been thinking about like as I was just sitting down to take a few breaths to sit here before chatting with you. I was thinking, all when you feel busy, and maybe we don't always feel busy, right? We don't all always feel busy, but when there's just a lot happening, a lot going on, it's just so I can just relate to. And I could saw myself like today a little bit with a little bit of a tendency. I didn't get wrapped up in it in the one thing after another sort of thing, getting things done. But I could see how without some sort of grounding practice, without some sort of way of being, here this moment, I can just see how you just got how how easy it would just be to just go off the rails. Really, just be completely at the effect of everything going on. So what I was thinking about here, what I was practicing was just, throughout the day, just reminding myself, it's like it's the next right action, right? It's all you can do. It's just the next.
I don't like that word right. Because then on the opposite scale is what? Wrong.
Well, I mean, it's a yogic term. Right action. I mean, it depends. I mean, the way we
It's okay, I can disagree with the yogic term. Don't be struck by lightning.
But when I say yogic, I mean by that I really mean like inherently nourishing, right? Like right. So the way when we hear right and wrong, that's kind of like this. I don't know, the way I was brought up, Western sort of moral sort of.
I was brought up in that same household.
Right. It's like, there's the right thing and there's the wrong thing, and the right thing is what you should do, and the wrong thing is what you should never do. And
there's that word.
Yeah.
Should.
Right. And which is exactly what I'm saying. That's
exactly what I'm saying too.
Yeah. It's not where we're coming from with just right action. It's like with right action, it's we always know what
swing. It's like down and then action. The vertical alignment first and then the horizontal alignment.
Yeah, say more about that.
Yeah, I feel like you want me to. I felt like okay, so how do I I'm going to start with a story. There was this time when I was doing the local one-on-ones back to back in my other place after I moved out of the first 6 months of living with Dad when I first came back from Asia.
Okay.
And I had that whole half of that. Did you ever see that house that I lived in? That had stairs for the first. The entryway had stairs, and then I had a main floor, and the right side of the house was dedicated and devoted. I'm trying to say both those together. What would that word look like? Dedicated?
Language is fun. You can just make words up, and like we'll know what you mean.
I did that the other day with an adverb. I'm like, that's not even an adverb. The whole right side of the house was for clients, and that whole second bedroom was with the table permanently set up and the tapestry over it. And then I had a loft up above.
Yeah, no,
that
does not sound familiar to me.
Okay, so I'll never forget this because I would always walk down after the one-on-ones and let the clients stay up there and get themselves together, and I'd be writing notes in their file while my bare feet were on the ground in front of the house. And there was a picnic table a few steps away that I used to sit in, and I would use it to say prayers and ask the questions to create things. And so I was walking back from that picnic table right in time for my next client. And it was this guy who I absolutely loved. I met him at a metaphysical church, gave a workshop, he became a client. Eventually he went and got his yoga teacher training after working with me. And I just dug his style, and we had a very good vibe together. And one of the things I'll never forget him saying to me as I walked up to the start of our session was, he goes, "How you doing?" And I said, and he could tell I didn't even have an answer, and he could tell by the look on my face. He was like, "You're trying to keep up with yourself, aren't you?" And it was just so good of a capturing. I'm in that space now too. Here we are in the new beginning. I don't mean New Year's. I mean the 1 year started, the new energies that are around because of the different astrological alignments. As we also, I mean, like mid-Feb is going to have a new astrological alignment like we have literally never had before, tracing back to like 4000 BC, and astrology did this in America to see if there was ever another alignment like that, and there isn't. And so that's mid-Feb. There's another big jump in mid-April. Chinese New Year is the year of the fire horse. This, I've never seen this Chinese New Year, all Chinese New Year started on the first new moon of the year after our solar New Year, because it follows, they still follow the lunar calendar like Hebrew used to do, or Jews used to do.
Okay.
Chinese still do it. And so that first new moon of the lunar cycle is actually with the total solar eclipse. So our Chinese New Year with the year of the fire horse. Now, I don't know what imagery you get with pairing a horse with fire, but like I'm already feeling it. So I am in the midst of trying to keep up with myself and all the creations that want to come through me, that I hear, that I then bring out bring out onto the horizontal plane in the physical reality. So that's what I meant by that creation alignment. And it's so fun. David, can I please share a really piece of good news with you?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm so excited. One of the things that just happened that kept me running behind a little bit here is I was on this call with this woman who has just completed the Magic Manifestation and Money Flow program. She's 81. And I am so inspired by this woman because she wants more for herself and for her life. And she just signed up for starting the track of going on the retreats with me and starting that training and increasing her self-mastery and increasing her mastery over the co-creation process. So I am just so inspired by the people that I get to serve and the choices that these brave hearts are making, that are not just saying, I want more for my life and I know I'm meant for more, but taking not just hearing it, but taking the action to implement it. I'm so honored and I'm so inspired. And I'm gonna, 81, she's like, I know I'm gonna live to 100. I tell my kids that. Mm-hmm. Lots of stuff there, hey?
No, well, I was just thinking about, for my meditation groups, classes, whether it's online or in person or whatnot, so many folks are in in their 50s and 60s. Right. And some maybe in their 40s, but that's kind of that's the bulk of who I tend to see rolling on to calls and rolling up to meditation. Of course, if you were to go to yoga classes, like yoga asana classes, the group tends to be a bit younger. All in all.
Are you sure about that?
Well, let me say it this way.
It's like, how many yoga studios do you go to classes at to observe that stat?
When I used to go to class, I practice on my own alone now, mostly. I don't go to classes, but when I did, the answer, like I say, I'll say it this way. I have seen every now and then, like a few weeks ago, there were these two young women in their 20s who were just probably only a few years older than my eldest daughter, your niece. And that's less common. Just from what I see, just in a sample. And so on the other end of that, I've heard, you hear this like, I don't know, it's just pretty standard out there. and maybe you don't hear this very often, in the circles that you tend to practice in, but just in, kind of, it's just so engaging in specific practices and starting routines and habits that are designed for self-growth, inner exploration, the journey to the center of ourself, anything, anything that you want to, spirituality in general. There's so many of us who are interested and so many who are enthusiastic, but the number who actually put it into practice and say, I'm going to take practical and deliberate steps to explore this and see what's possible for myself. I mean, it's easy to say, I'll get to that when I retire. I mean, if you have a busy job you've been doing for a couple decades, it's just so easy to say, I don't have time for that. And it seems like for a lot of folks, stuff has to really come to a head.
Oh boy, are you bringing up something?
Okay, so I'll just finish that statement. Things just really have to come to a head before you are inspired enough to actually take steps to change habits. So what came up for you?
So much. One of the things that I don't say as much recently, I did just this week on a big summit interview I had, but the idea that I used to say this a lot, so that you don't require crisis to choose to change.
I remember hearing you talk about that, yeah.
Yeah, that was more in the teens. I would talk about that a lot, but we have grown. I mean, we have, there is definitely a lot more of humanity awakened now, and a lot more progressive choices being made by more people.
Yeah.
My nose seems to be itching. And the woman I was just talking to, she was, the call went double the amount of time that I expected. She was talking about how the pattern of procrastination and how she would go into, she goes, you know how what it is when things are going great, you don't really meditate, but when things are going bad, you make sure you make the time to meditate. And I'm like, well, no, I don't, because that's not at all how I've ever been. But I understand.
You can see it.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I see the people as a result of living that way who come in to work with me, right? David, one of the things that I know I want to, and have been, but I want to even more talk about, not necessarily right here, right now, but in general, overall, is the fact of what you said, that it is a process, it is a path, and it's not like something to turn to when there's problems, but living from the inside and understand. This is one of the main goals I came back with after researching and writing What If There's Nothing Wrong, my first book, right? For those of you who don't know, the idea of, oh my God, this is behind my whole mission. If people in the West only understood the science of how subtle energy and consciousness works, there would be so much more thriving and so much less suffering. But we're still in the limbo state of the old paradigm collapsed, and we don't have the new one fully there yet. And so that's such old paradigm. In my understanding and perception and intuition, it's old paradigm related, where we would only go for growth if there's a crisis forcing us that is pinching, like a zit peaking, and then you go to pop it. Ew. It's like a crisis forcing you to work on the popping egoic identity level of self that cracks that egoic level of self and causes you to look beyond the normal operating modus operandi you carry yourself as and through your daily life with that routine in the 30s and 40s, as you seem to be talking about. So getting to the point of understanding that crisis is required to force people to make the choice that others are actively, progressively, proactively making is why people have crisis happen. If we're tuned in, then we don't require the crises because we're hearing stuff from our soul, who speaks metaphorically with our body. We don't need our body to start forcing us to pay attention to something because we're tuned in enough. So that's only one level of it though, right? From my perspective of the focus on what we're creating individually and collectively as humanity for our next new golden era, the understanding of what showing up on the outside I actually have an impact on. Not from the old self-help perspective that from the carryover from the 80s, and I think too the movie The Secret, where people's consciousness went with, oh my God, why would I have this thing, this bad, crazy, yucky thing I don't want in my life show up? Why would I have called that to me? What's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? What did I think wrong that caused this crappy situation in my life? And then they would use that opportunity to make themselves feel even worse, even more bad, and even more wrong, right? So it was this overstatement of the first initial insertion into the West of we are responsible for what is showing up in our physical lives. We have empowerment over that. And now it feels like we're at a different stage where, I mean, I never say, and I don't use the word never a lot, 100% of what shows up is responsible, we are responsible for, because I do believe in randomness. I've seen it. I do believe in karma kicking in. I've seen it. That is not created from unconscious beliefs that linger in our fields, the vibration of those that the universe reads, matches, right? On the day-to-day level of I'm tuning in, I'm taking right action or inspired action based on that, and I am tuning in and I am taking more. So you're creating your life from that vertical alignment. It's such a different existence than being mostly tuned into the outside world, not tuned into the inside world, and requiring some kind of crisis to force you to go inside. I feel like it's the old paradigm and the new paradigm I just presented back to back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And I think I almost want to, where my mind goes to kind of like simplify at least the first bit is the sense that if the only reason to go to I need crisis to help me change is if I'm not really paying attention at all. And you kind of said that, but as soon as we start making even the slightest intentional putting energy with intention toward exploring what's possible for ourselves and what else is going on here besides just the stuff I'm tending to with my family and my job and my work and and my vacation and stuff like that. Once I start taking even the slightest intentional steps forward, I'm going to require less of that, less and potentially none of those. I mean, life is always going to challenge us in various ways because we just need challenge in order to grow. We have to fail in order to learn. We have to be challenged in order to grow in one way or at some level. And because I think our natural tendency is to like we upgrade ourselves, we change our nervous system, our consciousness shifts, and then it's just easy to get into grooves. So sometimes we need to get jolted a little bit. And I think as this has been my experience is that my lessons still come. They're just much more gentle, much more gentle and much more nourishing and much more loving and much more just nudging than they were in the past, frankly, because I needed a bit of, I don't know if the word is crisis, but it certainly didn't feel too good. It certainly, felt like it felt pretty heavy, back in the day when I really wasn't paying attention, when I wasn't awake enough to really be curious in this way.
So you said something that was really interesting to me, and it's something I've been questioning, like that aspect of his comment that I quoted. You're busy trying to keep up with yourself, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
Like, I feel like if I look, I just want to talk about this. I just want to say that I feel like I'm not that way. I feel like I have always been choosing proactively, progressively ahead. Now, I'm a double pitta, right? My dosha is, I'm on fire. And so that's with good purpose. It's helpful, as long as I've learned to manage it, which meditation definitely helped. But if you look at what your sister's chosen throughout her lifetime, it has always been ahead of what the masses are choosing. And I don't, and I know that the ego mind prefers that comfort zone, that status quo.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I get claustrophobic when I have too much stuff around me, I also get claustrophobic if I'm too much in comfort zone. I'm, in fact, the opposite of that. So, unless I'm growing, unless I'm choosing to grow, like David, this week, I don't know, it was in the last 48 hours, I was really aware that, oh my God, I want to talk to David about this. I feel like, when we're weight training and our muscles are being forced to grow,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like because of my attunement to, and I use that word loosely here, and I don't typically use attunement loosely, but because of my attunement to the astrology and what's here now, and what it feels like now, what I've perceived standing under the stars, and what wants to get created, it's like, it's another version of Michael, him saying that, I didn't even use his name, him saying, oh, you're trying to keep up with yourself, aren't you? Now I feel like I can metaphysically perceive the growing pains this week. I'm asking my team, I'm asking them to I'm raising my standards with my expectations of them, and I'm therefore going to them and having different changes implemented. I'm asking them to help with that. And with the team dynamics, I'm asking for some of it to change so it gets smoother, easier, more supportive. But if I look at all that I have been stretching and choosing, and the meetings I've been on this week with the possibilities coming up and the new choices I could be making with what else my mission in life wants to create, I have been being stretched like the muscle as it's ripping to create bigger muscles. I felt like that yesterday and this morning. I literally feeling the stretching of growth. And if you think about it, we're coming out of the year of the snake, which is, the shedding of the old skin. And if you look at the numerology, it was a 9-year, which is completion. And we are now in a 1-year, which is new beginnings. And then the fire horse, the momentum, the passion, the drive. And I didn't think of that when I was just thinking of oh my God, this is like a muscle growth thing. I'm stretching to reach the growth that's pulsing through me, that I'm working to keep up with. And it is beyond me, my own individualized, localized consciousness. And it always has been. Ever increasingly, the more that I've tuned into it, starting in my early 20s, when I realized I need to listen to his voice, because shite just hits the fan when I don't. So I hear you, and this is where, sometimes it's better for me to let my guys on my marketing team talk rather than me, because I am so different. So you're talking more like what people can relate to, and I'm over here talking about this, trying to keep up with what wants to get created through me. Help. Any feedback you have. I know there are others doing it. I don't mean to make it sound like that at all.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was thinking, in a sense that it's not it's not so different. It's not so different because we're each, my understanding of all this is that while there is a connectedness between all of us, human to human, all of us together, we are in something that is singular, to which we can all connect and all relate. at the same time, we're individualized. We're individualized, and not even just at that, like, the ego wants to create separation where there isn't necessarily separation. That's, we're individualized at the soul level. We're each a unique expression. And so, there's, are you like having something built in your house? Like, well, I'm sorry, I'm just getting so
It's
distracted.
stopping now.
It's like, it's like, how am I going to edit out the, when it blows apart, how am I going to edit out the thunks and whatever else? Like, it's like the, do you have someone doing drywall in your house or what?
Well, not yet. We can talk separately about what's happening in that regard.
We'll talk about stuff growing. Maybe you got stuff, you're building stuff there. Right.
Yes,
But,
literally.
but, but what I'm, but where I said it's that, not necessarily different is that there's always something that wants to be created through us. And I'm always just curious about it. Like, how can I take, like, I was talking to, my, meditation. I actually think I did it for both an online one and the group I do on Sundays, just about this shifting from what can I get to what can I give. And I took it, and you can, think about that, just like at Christmas time or holiday time, how it feels. So it feels so much better to give even than to get. And why does that feel so good to give? It's because we get a chance to forget ourselves. We get a chance to forget ourselves just in that time that we're giving. It's the same thing why, just being of service and doing things for others, it gives us a chance to forget ourselves, and why giving feels so good. And I was taking it to this, even in our spiritual practice, we come to it from, what can I get from this? What sort of peace can I get for myself? What sort of growth can I get or have for myself? And when we shift into, and this came up because you're talking about, offering, because at the top of this one, but there's this beautiful, movement called the full yogic breath flow, where there's a full yogic breath which begins in the belly, expands into the lower ribs, and then into the upper chest, and then the reverse happens on the exhale, and you can coordinate that with a movement. So the whole body is doing the full breath. It involves, folding over and starting at the bottom and using the magnetism of the hands to draw energy up the spine, and at the top, a slight little back bend and an offering of oneself back to its source. And you can kind of say that. And it started as I would guide to this and practice this myself. And you say the words and offer it back. I was thinking about, how can that be something more tangible to think about? Because when we think of offering, it's kind of, I don't know. It's not that easy to grab hold of what that means. And so I was putting it into the context of giving, of offering, is just because we can know what it feels like to give a Christmas gift. We know what it feels like to, give the gift of helping your neighbor shovel her driveway. So we know what it feels like to give. And so offering is just, it's in the same ballpark. So when I sit down to practice, to meditate, whatever I'm doing is, can I offer this practice? And you can conceptualize this however you want, back to, can I offer this practice to Divine Mother? Can I offer this practice to God? Can I offer this practice to my own highest potential that I can imagine for myself? And so when I think about it that way in the giving, circling back to, what wants to be created, through this individualized being here, this human being here, sitting on, on this cushion here. if I tune into what do I have to give? What are the skills and talents that I inherently have? What do I feel energized by giving? What can I develop with a certain amount of energy that can be an offering that I can give? Then we can tune into that at whatever level we are. And so if you're at a certain level where you're tuning into what wants to be created so that you can give, I don't know. I think it might be just a matter of degrees.
I just feel it pulsing through me. It is such an incredible time on planet Earth to be alive, and there is such a rich opportunity right now to create our new golden era together. And if you look at the positioning, I mean, of my business is a huge offering. Like all of my programs are offerings of more. How do you access that more? How do you get into that creative flow where you're living from it, where you're creating? That's the meaning of co-creation, right? Yoga, to yoke with the divine, co-create, to co-create with the divine, so that the bridge of heaven and earth that we each inherently are is genuinely that. So there's a lot that wants to get created is what I'm saying. And it's like I'm doing my best to keep up with what this one being can do, right? And then I'm helping others be infused with it and see what they want to create in their own unique hemisphere in localized consciousness. The ones who are working with me is particularly at the mastermind level. So it's just growing. It's not pains, but it's like I've never felt that before, David. I've never felt that sense of stretching myself in the way that I have stretched myself. God knows, but I have never felt it like I just did almost palpably this week.
It occurs to me, what I have heard others who knew Swami Kriyananda, who I've mentioned to you many times before, direct disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda. What I've heard them say about him is that he was always creating something. Like there was just always something. There's a tremendous amount of energy that he put in creating, just creating almost continuously. There was almost never a time that he wasn't creating and building, creating or building something.
That's what thank you for saying that, because it's so different than the status quo or needing crisis to catalyze me to change. Like I live in that change, and if I'm not, then I get claustrophobic because I'm aware that I'm not growing. I'm a different being, I'm of course I am, but I'm relatively, I don't know how to say this because it's not ego. It's just from an observing standpoint from all the humans I've served and interacted with throughout the years. I'm rather unique in that way, like, and I think a lot of it really is being tuned into like the divine. This is going to sound so like possibly even to some ears delusions of grandeur, like being connected in with the divine and having a sense of what the astrology is guiding us towards creating now, and what the divine overall mission is for humanity. Like, of course, that sounds to some ears delusions of grandeur. To other ears, it's like they're right there with me, But having the sense of like doing my bit to help bring in, as a bridge between heaven and earth, what heaven's asking for on planet Earth.
Well, it can also be seen as just comforting, knowing that there are people who are tuned in who are,
good,
who are trying, because we can all do our part, and it's because it's
nice,
so
David.
I heard the most wonderful. Well, it's true, and
I love that. That's what you said.
I heard the most wonderful. Speaking of Swami Kriyananda, actually, I saw.
You love to speak of Swami Kriyananda.
I learned so much, absolutely. But he said something about, because what I had this thought about, you were talking about ushering, the golden era and ushering, all the old paradigms, crumbling and building from the new, and there's just so much happening in the world right now, and it's so easy, and I live with other humans, and it's so easy to tune into the negative or or these basically what's the results of kind of these two worlds kind of
Chaos.
colliding with each
Creation.
other, right? And I heard him say, so it's not I heard him say that he was like, I'm going to misquote him. I misspoke here when I attributed the Bumblebee as the guru to Swami Kriyananda. Swami Kriyananda was actually quoting an ancient sage of India, but he was basically like talking about like the bumblebee is one of his gurus in the sense that like because a fly will land on both a flower and dung, poop, right? But a bumblebee will only land on what's sweet, and so there's so much negative stuff that we can tune into. And to choose to tune into the positive, to choose to tune into and pay attention to the sweet, doesn't mean that we're not aware of the
I love that you're saying this.
Right? It doesn't mean that we pretend it doesn't there. We're putting our head in the sand, but I can't change that from my position, who I am, what I'm doing right here. I mean, what does getting angry about it or frustrated about it or going into despair about it, what sort of positive effect can that have, And so I just, and I know, I'm sorry, I'm checking the time. We're almost out here. But I was just wanted to bring that up with the, with the bumblebee, how I love the bumblebees. I know I've sent you videos of little bumblebees in springtime, but,
love the almighty bee.
Yeah. But it is just a beautiful guru, right? Just because there's,
impossible. So the symbolism of how it has this like non-aerodynamic body in the wings design, I love that.
Just that's enough, right?
Yeah, I love what you just said, because I mean, I was just having a conversation about like the amount of fraud and scam likely calls my phone seems to be receiving, and just like the challenge of living in that confluence of the old paradigm and the new, and the chaos of creation. It is an incredibly intense time on planet Earth, and each of us are having a lot to deal with. So, I mean, that in and of itself could be motivation for those who need motivation or crisis to cause them to, look into, and it's actually kind of meant to be that,
that's absolutely. I mean,
humanity's spiritual awakening.
Why else would it be happening?
Nicely said.
Well, if we put any stock in a universe that is benevolent, then why else would it be happening? It's so
to get better and better.
Yeah. I think it's Oh. All right. Well, let's leave it at that, because that was the bumblebee. Cool. All right.
For it to get better and better. Namaste, all.
I love you.
Thanks. I love you too.
Bye.